All right, hello, I'm Leigh Ann Barber, and I am the Director of Counseling for White House Independent School District. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background, since you have a counselor up here. I'm pretty personable, anything you want to say or anything. I have been in the school system for 28 years. Actually, I'm starting my 28th year. I was a counselor. I taught in Jacksonville ISD for 5 years, school counselor there for 9 years. Then I went to White House and I was a school counselor there. Then I went to Tyler ISD to be the Director of Counseling for 5 years. And now I'm back in White House as the Director of Counseling in White House. And I get to deal with, basically in this position, I'm over the school counselors, but I also have a program that UT Tyler we started 3 years ago. That's what I came for. We have interns out of the Clinical Mental Health Master's Program on our campuses counseling. We have 8 a semester. So I train them, supervise them. And from that program, we started the program right when COVID hit. We actually were able to hire 4 of the licensed professional counselor associates. And they counsel many, many kids. Actually, just with those 4, they counseled 270 kids this past year. Wow. So I know everyone in the last 3 years, we have felt stress. So we're going to talk about today, stress relief for foster children, caregivers, and advocates. And I'm going to talk a lot about stress just for ourselves, because if we don't deal with our own stress, it's hard to even understand anyone else's. So I would like to know just a little about you. I'd like to know who I'm talking to, just your name and 2 other things you'd like to say. Like I have a dog named Betty or whatever you would like to say. Okay. Who would like to start?
I'll start.
Okay, go ahead.
Since I'm the only front row. My name's Amy McDonald. I'm the program director here. I live in White House, and something I would like to share is I'm in my daughter's car today. So after we finish, I'd like everyone that can fit to come sit in my daughter's car with me, so I can get as many people in there as possible and take a picture and send to her.
That's great.
Because she needs a bigger car?
No, because I've seen how many she tries to fit in.
Exactly what you did.
So,
been there, done it. Hey, we put 18 in a Volkswagen one time.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Keela Shands. I'm a case supervisor here. I am a pet mom of 3, and I'm originally from Arkansas.
Good deal.
Nicole Branch, I'm also one of the case supervisors. I have 3 kids, and the 50s are my favorite decade, so I'm very excited about that.
All right. Okay.
I'm Johnny Lunsford. I'm Assistant Program Director and Van Zandt County Supervisor. I have 6 grandkids, and I love Elvis Presley.
Correct.
Have you seen the new movie?
Not yet. It's on my to-do list.
My name is Linda Alder. This is my boss, so I can't say anything about my boss. It wouldn't be good. She's wonderful. Okay. Did I get any points?
Yes.
I have a volunteer job that has consumed me for the past 7 weeks. I volunteer at God's Open Hands. It's a resale thrift store in Chandler, Texas. The Methodist Church owned it because it used to belong to the Baptist Church. If y'all want to hear this, just, tune out. Don't want to hear it. The city of Chandler bought the property because they want a new city hall. And so we moved from 1 million square feet to a 1,600 foot square house. And so we had to downsize, and my husband remodeled the house. He doesn't do that for a living or anything else. And so I was the fetch it and hand it. I don't have anything else to talk about. Oh, I do have a puppy. She's 7 months old. She weighs over 50 pounds, and she's not too grown. She's a lab.
Great. Okay.
I'm Jean Cox. I'm a CASA advocate, and I love this job.
Great.
My favorite job besides raising my own kids.
Great, great.
I'm a new kid on the block. I haven't been sworn in yet. My name is Shirley Witherspoon, and I'm a pet mom of 3, 2 indoors and 1 outdoors. And 3 things I love, or not 3 things, 3 loves that I have. I can't think of another word. I love the elderly, I love animals, and I love children. And those in my ministry, my life is wrapped around those three.
Great, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm the old kid on the block. I've been at CASA since 1999. And Judge Clark, named, I don't know if you know her, I don't know if you know her, but she became the judge of the 321st District Court in 1999, and Priscilla was right there with her. So I've always enjoyed doing what I'm doing. And I'm 80 years old, but I'm going to keep going as long as I can.
That's blessing.
Great.
From Zoom, we have Chris Foster. He said he's been listening to the podcast about foster care while working outside in his yard this morning. And he said they're interesting. And right now, a second thing he shared is that he's eating salad with homegrown dinosaur kale, romaine, and arugula.
Okay.
And it's his first time growing those things. So I hope it goes well.
And it's a her.
Her, sorry.
Okay. All right, just a little bit more about me. My family is very important to me. Family is very, very important. And I like people to know who's presenting, what their loves are. I like to know who I'm going to listen to and where their heart is. My husband is actually the assistant superintendent at White House. We work in the same building. That's the last 3 years. It's kind of crazy, but and I have two children. I have a daughter that's 25 and she's a nurse at hospitality, ER, and I have a son that will be 21 next week, and he is at Texas Tech University. So we are empty nesters for the first year. It's really neat. I've been a counselor for 22 years, in education 28 years. I love people and I love counseling. I got a principal certification, got offered a job. I'm like, I love counseling and I love training counselors. That is my life. So, all right. So today I want you to think of it's very important to take care of you. This is all about taking care of you so you can take care of others, because we're in helping fields. And if we don't take care of ourselves, there's not enough left of us to take care of others. So why would we have stress? Why in this day and time would any of us have any stress at all?
Well, I kind of think how things are going to go and then they don't.
That's right. True. But, we talk about COVID, the pandemic, that's put a whole nother line of stress with financial issues, personal relationship, family issues, divorce, parenting, work, school, social media, caring for others, death, grieving, and moving is a big stressor. Let's talk about what is stress. We hear it all the time. I'm stressed. But really, what is stress? It's normal. It's very normal for us to feel stressed. It's a human reaction that happens to everyone. Actually, without a little stress, you couldn't even get up and present. Anxiety and stress can be a good thing until it overwhelms us. So the human body is designed to experience stress and react to it. When you experience these changes or challenges, stressors, your body produces physical and mental responses. And that's what stress is. So stress and anxiety, they are simply part of us, everyday life, whether it's work, relationships, anything, the pressure. And when we couple that with bombardment of information, you get a mental health epidemic. And right now we have a mental health crisis in the world, which never in my lifetime have we ever had that, or it's never been declared that. This epidemic has led to an increase in awareness of just how much stress affects our lives. So everywhere we go, we hear we're stressed, and they're telling us we're stressed and why we're stressed, and that gives us more stress. So every day, everybody deals with stress at one point, and if it's left unaddressed, it can lead to health complications. So we're going to talk about what we can do. All right. So what are our common responses to stress? So when we have trauma incidents occur, we experience considerable losses or the stress and emotions of traumatic incidents or common reactions to the situation. So we feel overwhelmed. And everyone reacts to that in a different way, how they feel. We have sleep disturbances, can't sleep. I mean, kids you're working with, families, anger. Sometimes it just comes out. Withdrawal, not wanting to do anything, not wanting to go out, be around people. Feelings of sadness and depression. Crying. I've dealt with more people crying than I ever have before who I've known forever, who literally have not cried. Actually, even myself, I'll be honest with you, in the last few years, I have felt different than I've ever in my life because there's so many changes. Fatigue, feeling anxious or fearful. Okay, so what are some signs of secondary traumatic stress? Excessive worry or fear about something bad happening. Easily startled or on guard all of the time, just wondering what's going to happen next. Physical signs of stress, like your racing heart. Nightmares or reoccurring thoughts about the situation, or just feeling someone else's trauma as your own. And when we're going to get into some ACE stuff, and we're going to look at different trauma, childhood trauma stuff. But when we deal with that stuff and we have people that are hurting or we hear stuff and we have dealt with that, we start dealing with that again and feeling like it's ours. All right, negative effects on social media. How many of you are on social media? And it's not all a bad thing. We learn great things on social media, but we also, when we're seeing the great things, we also see all the other things that are coming, the news and everything. But also we learn things that we might not, like it gives us a false sense of connection. We have friends. Kids are learning more. Actually, this is the first time in my career in the last couple of years that kids are learning things before I do. I've always been able to go to trainings, know what's going to happen. They're on social media knowing about what's happening in big cities in White House before we ever know. I used to be able to get the training, would happen, somewhere, and get the training and be ready for it. We're not ready. We're not ready now because social media is teaching these kids these things early. Mental health effects. Encourages poor grammar, usage, and spelling. We're seeing more and more kids writing papers with, texting or how they would write on social media. Exposing children to online predators. It's huge. That's one thing that really is different. All of these chat rooms that are hidden, that people are at the back of and like watching, and these kids say, well, this man was watching me dance. And sometimes we have never heard of them. That did not happen even 2 years ago. We had heard it before. My counselors will call me and say, Ms. Barber, have you heard of this? I'm like, I want to say yes, but no, I have not. And so we have to investigate into that and everything. Isolation, loneliness, broken relationships, infidelity, and torn families, harm to one's reputation, exposure to cyberbullying, and suicide. We've seen a lot of people hurting. And so what do we do when we're feeling these ways? So I want to talk about, because you're working with kids and also we're all around people, what can we do with social media out there? Because that is one of the #1 things that are affecting kids right now and people. Limit screen time, access, and have set rules for use of electronics. Very, very important. Kids are going to their bedroom with these phones and staying on them all night, playing games all night, and they're so tired. Remove screens from the bedroom at night, including all cell phones, tablets, and TVs. Encourage daily interactions without electronic devices. Family dinner at the table. And, we are all into at the school doing the one-on-one, let's do one-on-one computer. But we really need to make sure we're only doing academics and they can't go. We have to be very careful into games and stuff. For younger children, monitor internet and they use the parental controls. And a lot of parents and caregivers and people who you would not even, they don't realize there's parental controls. And so just knowing about those things and that you can put those on there to keep kids out of, where they cannot get into this. Talk with your kids about the dangers and consequences of social media. Keep the computer in a common area in the home. So when they do click on something, you can see what they're looking at. And then set an age limit for social media use. We have kindergartners who come to school with phones and there's no parental use or anything, there's nothing on their set. They'll be in anything. And so it's just, a lot of time I'll have parents ask me, what age do I get my child a phone? That there's a lot to that. There's maturity. There's, everyone learns at a different level, or how much are you monitoring? Actually, when I did this to begin with, it used to say 13. I know some 13-year-olds that don't need a phone, or all 13-year-olds need to be closely monitored. So how can we reduce stress? We know all these things are happening. Our world's different. Well, I want to tell you, how many of you ever heard of John Gordon? He is great. I mean, the man, he is so great. He writes a lot of books and stuff. I've been doing this for several years. He has one word is a powerful way to simplify your life. All of our lives are busy with all these things. And what you do is you just choose one word. I'm going to show you a video. You focus on the word for the entire year, and it can just be very life-changing. It'll simplify and focus, lead to clarity and success. Once you narrow your focus and choose your one word will work its way into every aspect of your life, and you get ready for the 6 dimensions of your life: mental, physical, emotional, relational, spiritual, and financial. So I'm going to go into, I'm going to try to at least. Here we go.
On the first tab, it should be there.
It's not coming up.
Right there.
Yep, it is now. We have to have some tutorials on this.
You're doing great. Zoomers, if you can't hear this when it gets started, let us know.
We must create a positive vision for the road ahead. It's so important to create that vision because if you can see it, you can create it. If you have a vision, then you also have the power to make it happen. But it starts with that vision that aligns everyone.
I'll hear it.
We must create a
May I?
We must create a positive vision for the road ahead. It's so important to create that vision because if you can see it, you can create it. If you have a vision, then you also have the power to make it happen. But it starts with that vision that aligns everyone in your club, all your associates, to get on the bus and point in that positive direction towards that vision. And then once you have that vision, it's essential that you reinforce it. Because when we leave meetings like this, right, what happens so often? We have our goals, we have our ideas, we have our vision, we go back, and everyone's fired up. But what happens a few months later? A few months later, we might lose the vision. So it's so important to reinforce it and to keep that vision alive. It's like marathon marathon runners. When do most marathon runners quit the marathon? At what mile? Just shout it out. Some would say the first mile. No, you're just getting started so you don't give up. I thought it might be the last mile, but the second least amount of people quit in the last mile. Even though they've been running the longest, they've been running the farthest, they should be the most tired, they don't give up. Why is that? You can see it. Because you can see it, you keep on moving towards it, even though you're physically tired and drained. The power of the mind, the power of the vision keeps you moving towards it. Most people quit in the 20th mile. That is where we lose our vision. We're physically tired, we're mentally drained, so what happens? We just stop running. So I want to encourage you, keep your vision alive, and it will keep you alive. And I have found a powerful way to keep our vision alive. And it's a one-word vision. One word that we can all use to be our driving force for the year. A one-word vision / purpose. So 3 years ago, I started doing this, and my word was purpose. I wanted my purpose to be greater than my challenges. So I had my word for the year, and it made such a difference as I traveled all over the place. I focused on my purpose. My wife's word was intentional. She wanted to be more intentional as a mom and stop allowing the distractions from keeping her from being her best. Let's face it, guys, distractions are the enemy of greatness. Would you agree with that? Oh, yeah. Reality TV exists because people watch it. When I watch the Kardashians, I feel better about my own family. But it's a distraction. So my wife said, okay, no more distractions. She focused on her word of intentional. Even did this with my kids. My 12-year-old son came up with the word focus. He wanted to focus more in school and also on the tennis courts. And my daughter, 14 years old, she came up with her word. It was motivation. Great word for her because she needed it. We're at Pepperdine University. I'm speaking to all the students at Pepperdine. She came with me. I'm done speaking. All the students were running up to my daughter. Jade, it's so encouraging having John Gordon as your dad. Does he just encourage you all the time? She was so serious. She looked at him. She said, yeah, he tries to encourage us, but we don't listen. But you know what? It's okay because she has her own word of motivation. And now that's become a driving force in her life. So my hope, my goal is that everyone here will leave with a word that becomes your driving force for the year. What's going to drive you to be your best this year? What's going to drive you to bring out the best in your team? And then I want to encourage you to actually have every one of your associates come up with their word. If you go to Hendrick Auto, I've worked with them, and you go to their headquarters, you will see a car in the headquarters of all the words of all the employees on the car. Words like commitment and passion and service and teamwork and dedication. Everyone has a different word that's meant for them, but these words they see every day when they come into work, and it's become an inspiration, a driving source to help them be their best. And I want to encourage you to do the same. Have your word, have your vision, and let that create a more positive future of where you want to go this year. One word that will change your life. But there's one final principle I have to share. Because you can have a great vision and you can be positive, but we still need to get our team on the bus and truly engaged. Because what I have found is that people follow the leader first.
Thank you. Okay. So I have chosen, like they talked about teamwork and things, but it is really powerful. Actually, I brought the book. This book right here, it's called One Word That Will Change Your Life. And it has it has a workbook that goes with it as well, but it is so powerful. And like every year I'll put something in my office or everything and the words I have chosen and I've used in the past, joy, and you'll see there, peace, enjoy, and my word for this year is faith. And when I get stressed, I start thinking, Leigh Ann, enjoy, have peace. And I think about the words that I've used in the past, but then I think about have faith in this. You can do this. I mean, whatever's going on, even when I'm dealing with a student and it's tough, a family situation, I think my word. Sometimes when we are very stressed, we can't think through, breathe, you know, let's do the tracing of, but I can think about that word in that point. And I've trained myself and read so much about my word. It's very powerful. So I've actually did the counselors, and we all do that. And it's great. So I'm going to share that with you. All right, self-care. Something that is the most important thing that we can do is having self-care. We talk about it, we think about it, I talk to y'all about it, and then we go home, we think, golly, I'm tired. But practicing self-care does not mean you're choosing yourself over others. It means that you are simply being mindful of your own needs, so you are better able to support the people that you care about. When you take care of yourself and are not stressed, you're better able to meet the needs of others. All right, so what does that mean? Improving your ability to handle stress. Get moving. Exercise, get out regularly, go around. If you're feeling like you don't feel well, walk one time down the driveway. But upping your activity level is one tactic you can employ right now to help relieve stress and start to feel better. That is probably the number one best thing to do. I tell kids all the time, hey, shut your door and dance. Nobody, and lock it if you have to. I mean, some of them don't have locks on the doors, but anyway, do whatever you can to get that out. And I'm not going to play that, but there's a video, it's called Move and Freeze. And if you just Google that, it's a crossing your body activity for kids, and it's so neat. Go home and do it, y'all. Nobody has to be at home. It's like put your right hand on your left shoulder on your right, and all this, and it's so fun. So that's a really neat thing. And it's from Conscious Discipline, and they have so many free activities. And if you just go to Move and Freeze, it'll show you all the other things that you can do. All right, connect to others. It's so important to belong somewhere. Connect with others, talk to people. Face-to-face interaction. That's why COVID was so difficult on us. We didn't get to talk to the people. If we did, it was through a screen that we were used to seeing. And face-to-face with another person can trigger hormones that relieve stress when you're feeling agitated or insecure. Actually, just when y'all are introducing yourselves, just letting that out. I was watching your faces and talking about things, just getting it out, saying things makes you feel so much better, like sitting and being with people. Just a brief exchange of kind words or a friendly look from another human being can help calm and soothe your nervous system. So spend time with people who improve your mood and don't let your responsibilities keep you from doing that. Social life is so important. If we don't have any close relationships, or your relationships are the source of your stress, make it a priority to build stronger and more satisfying connections. Engage your senses. Use all your senses: touching, taste, smell, hearing, sight. The key is to find the sensory input that works for you. Does listening to an uplifting song make you feel calm? Sometimes people listening to music stresses them out, but some people it calms down. Smelling things like coffee, petting an animal, that can calm you down so much. Everybody responds to sensory input a little differently, so find what you respond to. Learn to relax. Can you just easily relax? No, I can't. I have to find my ways. So you can't completely eliminate stress from your life. So we have to learn what are some techniques, relaxation techniques that we can do to just learn to relax. And we don't just know these. We have to find them. We have to find the ones that work for us. Yoga, meditation, deep breathing, Meditation if you Google meditation and you just listen to them tell you to breathe, it's kind of strange sometimes because it's like someone saying, okay, sit back and do this, but it's great. It is great. It puts you in a state of restfulness that is the polar opposite of the stress response. When practiced regularly, these activities can reduce your everyday stress levels and boost feelings of serenity. Also increase your ability to stay calm and collected under pressure. All right, so I'm not going to read through this, but you can look at this as a deep breathing activity, how to practice deep breathing. And you could do this with students and families as well. But I do want to show you this because it has so many neat things in it. So we're going to do this really quickly. I won't go through the whole thing, but it's just sit in a comfortable position, close your eyes and listen.
With your eyes closed, being alert and awake, bring your attention to your breathing and to the movement of the breath as it comes in and out of your body. Simply observe your breathing, watching the path it takes as it travels in at the nose, down the abdomen, and then out again through the nose. Staying focused on the breath without forcing it in any way. Being here with each in-breath and with each out-breath, letting one follow on from the other. Use your breath as an anchor. Allow the breath to anchor you to the center within your abdomen, that part that is stable, focused, and present. Follow the breath to your anchor, bringing with it a new beginning. And with each out-breath, a letting go. Be aware of each breath, nourishing and grounding you, renewing and letting go. One breath following the other. Allow it to bring with it a stillness and a feeling of balance, grounding you right here, right now. Letting it anchor you, gently and kindly, to this moment and to this moment. As the intensity begins to ease, let your attention spread to include all of your body and engage your breath in a rhythmic flow that moves in and out of your body as a whole. Gradually let your awareness begin to take in the sounds around you and within you, simply letting them exist in harmony with you as you breathe. Sitting in stillness, in this moment. feeling grounded, feeling balanced. Gently allow all of your senses to be awake, to be alert and alive to all that is happening within you and around you. Acknowledge with kindness that you've spent this time living each moment of your life with whatever came with it, in a mindful, balanced and open way, and that you now have the choice of how you wish to live this moment of your life. And this moment.
Okay, so that activity, you'll be calm. It calms people down so much. Kind of like, oh, I wasn't going to do the whole thing, but y'all were just like, oh. All right, this is the media. It's called 7cups.com, but it has all kinds of different things you can do for students or kids. Anxiety, there's like breathe practice, education assistant, energizing, guide. But anyway, I won't go through all of it, but it has so many things. You want to pull that up at home and look at it. And
What is that website? Did you give it to us?
it's in the packet, but it's called just the number 7cups.com.
We abbreviated the PowerPoint some, so the website might not actually be printed in there. So 7cups.com.
The letter 7.
The number.
Without.
The number, just 7. And then cups.com. Do y'all email out stuff?
We do.
Y'all can email this presentation to them if y'all. Thank you. All right, so eat a healthy diet. I am the best person at presenting about this until every morning I get up and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to do great today. And by lunch, I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. But the food you eat can improve or worsen your mood and affect your ability to cope with life stressors. And when we're stressed, we want to eat sugar. We want to eat carbs. We want to eat all those good things. Eating a diet full of processed and like convenience food, refined carbohydrates, sugary snacks can worsen symptoms so much of stress. While a diet rich in fresh fruit and vegetables, high quality protein, omega-3 fatty acids can help you better cope with life's ups and downs. The exercise, the relaxation, the eating healthy matters so much. All right, sleep. Whoop. What am I doing?
There's a slight delay, so.
Okay, get your rest. Feeling tired can increase stress by causing you to think irrationally. It's amazing how one night of missing sleep the next day, you can just come up with everyone that walks by you doesn't like you. They're looking at you a certain way. Kids are the number one. They don't want to be my friend. Did you sleep last night? No. At the same time, chronic stress can disrupt our sleep. We can't sleep. We're thinking, our minds are just going through everything going on. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep at night, there are plenty of ways to improve your sleep. So you feel less stressed and more productive and emotionally balanced. And a lot of those things are eating the correct way, exercising, screen time before you go to sleep. No, you won't go to sleep. Especially what you see on the screen sometimes, you just keep thinking about it. As adults, we can often identify our feelings and signs of stress. Like you could probably sit here and think, you know what, I've been stressed and I know why, because this, and this. We can recognize and we can verbalize our emotions, sometimes, not always. However, children are less likely to be able to understand what they're feeling. They just feel these ways, they act out, let alone how to tell us what's bothering them. And this can lead to behavioral changes, which They can't many times focus. They struggle to relax. Extreme emotions. They have reactions to such anger and crying. They have changes in their eating habits, increased refusal to do chores, cooperate at all. At school, we see this all the time. Increased aggression towards others, towards their caregivers, towards siblings. The emergence of new or old fears, depression, increased need to physically be near a teacher, parent, or caregiver. That's sometimes why they don't want to be away from people, because of their stress and whatever they've been through. So do we have time? How much more time do we have?
About 40 minutes.
Okay. All right. Adverse, how many of you ever heard of ACEs? Okay. Adverse childhood experiences are something that we need to think about for ourselves, because when we are working with students or kids or anyone who we're working with, even other adults and families, we have to think about, you know what have I been through? Because many times when we're working with something and we've had a similar experience, it's tough. At that point, we go, wow. So ACEs are potentially traumatic events that occur in childhood from 0 to 17 years. So ACE definition and impact. Adverse childhood experiences are potentially, like I said, they're traumatic experiences, but there are different ones. And there are abuse, emotional, sexual, physical, domestic violence, witnessing violence, bullying, cyberbullying, loss, death, abandonment, neglect, separation, natural disaster, accidents, terrorism, war, chronic stress, poverty, racism, invasive medical procedure, community trauma, family member with substance abuse use disorder. Sometimes one incident in a kid's family can happen and they can get 3 or 4 ACEs. And that is very traumatic. And so when we look at things, it's very, I don't know where I had another slide, but I guess I didn't. It's very traumatic. And when we think about these things, if these happen to us, if we had, a certain abuse and we're working or we're dealing with a situation, our empathy for that situation, for that kid is so high sometimes that it's hard to deal with, because either we had someone very close that happened to, or it happened to us, or some similar situation, and we have transference. Like sometimes I deal with a kid who has had a major situation, and I look and I think about their ACEs that time, and I think in this situation, they met 5 of those. And so it's also just knowing about them, it helps us to be able to work with them as well. So 60% of U.S. children have been exposed to violence, crime, or abuse. 1 in 15 U.S. children are exposed to domestic violence a year. And then this changes a child's brain. Repeated chronic activation of stress hormones bypass thinking part of the brain and activate survival part of the brain, fight, flight, or freeze. Strengthens the fight, flight, or freeze pathways, then become efficient and predominant, and it interrupts normal development and impairs complex thought and learning. So that's where we see a kid that something happens to them at the age of 3, and they've got, no help or intervention. At the age of 10, they're still stuck there because of the trauma. So it also changes their behavior, their aggression, irritable, more headaches, stomach aches, just feeling bad, identifying or labeling feelings, communicating, problems with focus, easily startled. We have, kids that have, all the time are on guard, and distrust of others, disassociation, checking out, and underreaction. All right, I know this is kind of outdates a little bit, but I figure everyone here knows what I did something with some kids, they were like, what's a record player? But like a needle on a record player, complex trauma wears a groove in the brain. A reminder of the trauma can cause their bodies to replay their traumatic reactions, mobilizing them to either run from or fight the threat while shutting down other systems that help them think and reason. And that is with everyone. That's everyone. So kids have no sense of feeling safe in their own skin or their environment. A kid don't know how to have healthy attachments to others. Kids don't know how to self-regulate, and kids don't know how to act. So see, it spells safe down or okay. All right, responses, good news, resiliency. How can we get that? What you do is so important, because a child with ACEs who has counseling, an advocate, a caregiver, a mentor can totally change what has happened to them. Having someone there for them, that's how they get through. If you think of someone who has had these things and they have no one fighting for them, caring for them, it's not good. But what you're doing is so important and wonderful. Many changes can be reversed in the trauma if it's interrupted and the child is nurtured in a safe environment. Provide stable, consistent, predictable relationships. Recognize trauma-related behaviors in children so your reaction to their behavior does not further traumatize the child, and help the kids feel safe first, then teach skills for self-regulation. All right, so I want to give y'all, because I know you community stuff, I want to give you just what, and we think, a lot of people think White House, White House ISD is a very good district, but what the changes we have seen just this year in the school system compared, this past year, COVID hit, and just being in it so long, I just want to give y'all some comparison from one year from the year before last to this past year. We had such an increase in our counseling needs and our outcomes, so much. We went from having 77, which that was a lot of self-harm forms completed, to this past year, 211, just kids out crying, wanting to hurt themselves. And it's for multiple of reasons. So family issues. And yeah, we could say it's just from COVID. We don't know for sure. There's so many other things in the world that have changed. Just divorce, blended families, family transition. Okay, friend issues, people not getting along with each other, just feeling like they don't belong anywhere. The communication, kids knowing how to communicate after they came back was tough. Just, they didn't know how to talk to each other other than through a screen or a phone. Peer pressure, traumatic events, grief. And I'll tell you, social media is a big one. Stress, anxiety, depression, and then of course, COVID-19. And our SEL counselors are our social emotional counselors, which are LPC-S. I said they actually counseled 270 students. They also are counseling staff members as well. And then our clinical mental health interns counseled 200 students. So we counseled a lot of students, and so hope that we're helping with all those ACEs. What we're seeing in students with all this is difficult time concentrating, difficult time screening out what's going on in our environment, just having the stamina to get through the test, assignments, homework, handle time pressures and tasks, just the interaction with others, and then how to handle feedback from others, like even teachers giving feedback on grades and stuff, the anger of I'm not perfect. And then responding to any kind of change. It's been very different. Statistically, when we look at things, there's more than 20% of youth either currently or at some point during their lives will have a seriously deliberating mental disorder such as depression, anxiety, or substance abuse. However, only 1/3 of these youth receive any mental health care from a trained provider. And that's so important that when we see kids dealing with stuff, that we fight and fight and fight to get them the help they need. Approximately 500,000 youth in Texas experience diagnosable mental, behavioral, and emotional disorders each year. And youth and families face many barriers when seeking the support. So outside referrals are sometimes taking months for students to get help. Many young people with mental health challenges can be helped earlier with just identifications as well as early support and intervention. Counseling can prevent more serious issues from developing later in childhood. And then schools, so when you are a CASA advocate, get the school. The school has the resources to get help, the counseling stuff for these kids. They can serve as meaningful environments for counseling services, prevention, and mental health promotion. Individual counseling, group counseling, school-wide prevention efforts, and mentorship programs. All right, so do y'all have questions? I want to leave time for questions.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If our child has a counselor,
Mm-hmm.
so would you suggest that we still get a school counselor?
Okay, so I don't believe in doubling up with counseling because it can confuse a kid. But there are so many things we can do in the school, like check-in, social skills, having that person at school. So I don't think it's a good idea to just say no, because that counselor can be something else besides. It's very important they know they're getting therapy outside. But, you know, sometimes these kids will have a counselor and they're getting therapy once every 2 months or once a month. That's really not therapy. So then I will double up. But if they're going once a week for 45 minutes to an hour, I tell my counselors, hey, or I will do social skills or put them in group stuff, because I need that person at school, because that person, it can be their person there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Questions from our Zoomers as well, that you want to ask, unmute yourself and ask out loud, or you can drop in the chat box and we'll pass them on.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you are doubling up, if you're a counselor to a child that is a CASA, has a CASA advocate, how does the CASA advocate know that the child, that you are there? How do you communicate that to us, or is it communicated?
So there's many times that in the school system, we don't even know that there's a CASA advocate. But if it didn't go through us and stuff, we don't know. So what has to happen is we have to have the paperwork and everything to be able to even give any information. So, but I have CASA advocates who contact me, or I have different people, and we have that paperwork and we do talk to them, give them grades and things like that, which is great because you're their person. Anyone else?
There's a big stigma, stereotype about self-care is, sorry, I'm looking for selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes.
And so, you know, with a lot of our parents that we work with, that we're trying to reunite families, there's a lot of responsibilities. There's a lot of hoops that they're still trying to jump through to prove themselves, basically. And I'm just wondering how we can kind of promote that, especially for our moms and see our single parents. We have more dads now than ever, but how we can promote that to them without a stereotype associated with it, that, you know, the rest of, because we work as teams also. We have lawyers and CPS, and all of us are involved together to support the family during this process of transition. But it seems very important, especially to these single parents trying to do this alone. And I'm just wondering if there's a different way to kind of approach it for promotion with the parent on without getting a stereotype associated. So.
And that is something you're so right, because that has to be just like mental health. There is such a stigma with mental health, and we think it's getting better. But, I had someone in my office say, I take medication, but I would not want anyone in this office to know but you. I mean, you would take it if you had diabetes or if your stomach was hurting or something. It's no different. So I would just be upfront and say, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to have, or just be the advocate for the mom. You don't have, and it is difficult because who's watching the kids when the mom is, self-care, and talk about what she can do with the kids around if they're never not around. But we just have to say it up front and not be scared, and sit back, because if we don't, who will? Just if she does not take care of herself, how is she going to take care of these kids? I mean, how can she start slow? Can she push the stroller around, the block while the kid's screaming? But it's true. We just have to be very vocal about it.
Well, and then there's the flip side of people that, parents that take advantage of that idea, and they want a lot of self-care and don't take care of their kids. Mm-hmm. So, it's got to be a very creative balance, I think. And so it's hard, as social workers, that's basically what we all do. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to kind of meander through what is a good balance for that, and what is taking advantage of, and what is doing it the right way.
And it is difficult because it's the same with us, with parents that are taking good care and stuff, and to teach them that. But then usually in every way, they're taking advantage of everything as well. So you're having to talk to them about all of that. But just, again, say, taking care of yourself is not going out to the club. It's, getting exercise, eating correctly, and just give steps on exactly what you do to take care of yourselves. Eating right, exercising for 20 to 30 minutes, not exercising for 2 hours, things like that. Exactly. But, going shopping for 5 hours and leaving your kid somewhere, no.
That might be a good class to add. And father.
And it is, I know exactly what you're talking about, because when you're in a group of people, and they're not social workers, counselors and stuff, sometimes they look at us, but again, also everyone needs to take care of themselves as well. And then we have two ends of the spectrum we're dealing with as far as parenting.
I'm not trying to be funny, but there's a lot of people that would think going out clubbing is self-care for themselves.
And depends on what they do, as long as their kids are being taken care of and no one's having to keep their kids, but someone is having to. So
it's
seesaw balance.
Don't you? I mean, they grew up that way.
They do think that's right. But and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. If that's what they want to do, that's fine. But that's not the self-care we're talking about. We're talking about self-care, breathing, taking time to eat correctly, exercise.
The clubbing could be part of socialization, just being out there, and it's calming in that way, that they're away from their home environment, maybe, so they get a break from it. And so, but the noise and all the other things that happens in a club probably make it worse.
Yeah.
And the tobacco.
Yeah.
And they don't realize it till they get home, but it gave them a break from that negativism at home, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
This could be your next session.
A club, but not like that.
So our kids that have, the majority of our kids that have counselors at school, and I know White House may be different, but the majority of our kids that have interaction with school counselors is mostly for testing, disciplinary. It's not counseling or therapy.
And I will tell you, we do have a very unique program that it is very wonderful. Tyler actually has hired some as well. And so it's starting to spread other places. So hopefully that will get better, but counselors are there to counsel. So you can say, I want this child counseled, and they should be counseled.
I've seen it mostly where if the child's having behavior issues, they
That's
send
the
them to the counselor.
That's right.
That's the intervention.
And that's, yeah.
But in my day, it was always punishment. I worked in the counselor's office in high school, and I never saw anybody counseled. I saw them punished when they came.
You would see different in White House ISD, I can assure you. There's a lot of counseling. And Tyler has really, they've hired the social and emotional LPC associates that counsel all day as well. And they have those on, I wouldn't say all day, but every campus, but they have them throughout the district.
Our kids are across the state. So,
Everywhere.
we interact with a lot of different school districts. Some in, like Metroplex areas, bigger cities. And it's very rare to hear anything that a counselor does at school. A lot of times we'll encourage our advocates to call the school counselor in order to get information because nobody else is helpful. So I hope I really do hope that spreads because our kids are at school more than they're anywhere else.
Well, and there's Senate bills that are out there saying what school counselors are supposed to do. And there has to be an advocate in the district advocating for that to happen as well. So, they're following laws and stuff. Yes. There's only 20% of a counselor's time now can be on like paperwork and stuff like that. So we track our time to see this is even our school counselors. So
wow.
That's so important that we're meeting these kids' needs for the ACEs. There's too much out there, stress and what kids are going through. And also to be there for these families, these parents that call and need the help. Parents call me all the time. And if we're not helping the parent, we're not helping the kid at all. And as parents, we all need the help. They don't give us a book and say, here, they give it to us, but that situation wasn't in the book for me. Just like with everything, we just have to keep pushing. That's why I love counseling, and I want to, be an advocate in every way I can for it. Do y'all have any questions? Anything else? Anyone on Zoom have any?
Not that they popped up, so anyone on Zoom, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question if you have one, or you can drop it in chat.
Is anybody else?
We have 23 people on Zoom.
Wow.
That is it.
They're still calm from the meditation.
Yes, we had a wonderful Zoom turnout.
Great.
Absolutely. So